So, for this video, I just wanted to talk about the bust-up that happened between South Africa and Australia. It's relevant because Australia are going to be facing Argentina in Argentina this weekend. And I foresee a similar thing happening. I think it's going to be quite a passionate game, particularly from the Argentinian point of view. They're going to be hurting after that loss against New Zealand, which I covered here on this channel. And I think that things might flare up again, particularly with the way both teams play, very physical at the contact area. And I'm just wondering what people think about what happened between ETZEBETH and Alan Latoa, the prop from Australia. So it all occurred, ETZEBETH's hulking out. He was wearing green as well, which was pretty cool. He hulked out and the photos were all over the internet. It was pretty cool, pretty enjoyable, I gotta be honest. And it was after Mpimpi and Karebi, the Australian player. He had tried to tackle Mpimpi in the corner. It failed to make the tackle after absolutely smashing him the week before. And then Mpimpi stood over him, which, by the way, is a penalty in American football. Which is interesting to note because the way I'm going to take this thought process is kind of related to that. The way they've stamped out kind of uncontrolled aggression, even in terms of like taunting. You can't provoke another player to engage in like physical violence. So yeah. Like I say, it was great to see ETZEBETH actually front up to one of the players. He seemed to pick him by random. I mean, I couldn't see on the replay whether there was any like kind of beef between those two players. ETZEBETH seemed to just pick him randomly and get in his face. And like I say, it was enjoyable for me. And I haven't played rugby for 20 years, so that tells you a lot. But back in the day, that thing was definitely part of the game, more so than it is now. And I also hear people call it handbags. Now, handbags is kind of pushing and shoving and not really doing anything. And I think that's the part that like made me think a little bit, because initially I was under the impression that it was a good thing, that the guy grabbed him, ETZEBETH grabbed him and Hulk face and actually absolutely intimidated him. Even I think it was the touch judge, the official was reluctant to get involved because he was kind of blown away by the intensity of ETZEBETH. But you could see at one point the Australian player, the prop, he balled up his hand into a fist and was going to swing, and ETZEBETH was like, yeah, do it, throw the first punch. Now, to me, that's always been the sign of a handbag situation. When nobody really wants to do anything, nobody's going to do anything, and there's a lot of pushing and shoving. And Mpimpi and the Krambetti, they walk off arm in arm together. They're like, we're going to leave the boys to it, sort it out, and we'll get on with the game. And I think at this stage in rugby, I think that kind of pushing and shoving is not a positive thing. Like the title of this video is called Spice It Up, or Let the Spice Flow. And that is an expression that I took from an old coach that I had. He was a player coach. And whenever we would be losing a game, he would say, boys, do you think it's time that we spice things up? And by that he meant like pick a fight, basically, throwing punches. And that may even the playing field, if a team is playing better. It's just a legitimate tactic that a lot of teams used, even at international level, just to kind of level the playing field. Is like a reset. And if you get the upper hand in the fight, maybe you'll have a bit of physical dominance on the pitch for a little bit of time. So, and the guy was actually pretty funny because he would take that off the pitch as well. I remember the time we were in a bar, and I think there was like a bunch of peanuts or something, and it was a pretty quiet night, so he just grabbed the whole bowl, threw it behind him, and was like, time to spice it up, boys. And peanuts hit everybody in the bar. And the funny thing was, he was actually a police officer as well, so like added a little bit of an extra element to things. But my point is, the reason why I'm making this video is that am I really entertained by that now? These are professional guys, you know. Your aggression is controlled aggression. Like Argentina summed it up perfectly in their first test recently against New Zealand on their ground, and that aggression was all in the tackle and the breakdown. There was nothing outside of that, and I think that's like part of the game. If you haven't like released all of that aggression in aspects or facets of the game, then it's going to boil over. So maybe ETZEBETH didn't have his best game in you know, didn't make a lot of yards, had like a reasonable amount of carries. I think it was like I could count on one hand. But I think if you have that much energy and you're willing, you want to face down with somebody that badly, it means you haven't done your job. And what I did was I went back and looked at like the last time players have been sent off for actually fighting on a pitch. Now, it used to be commonplace like 15, 20 years ago, even at club level, not so much international level, but club level. And I mean high club level, like grand finals and things like that. But these days it's almost unheard of, even in local games. I mean, it still happens, of course, because there are no cameras, there are no TMOs, it's not broadcast live, you know, so people are going to get away with it. So I think like these days, that kind of pushing and shoving is more reminiscent of what happens in soccer. People pushing and shoving and shouting at each other and making like aggressive faces, knowing that they're not actually going to do anything. And that's something I don't really, to be honest, like I come from the older school, so fighting has always been a part of rugby. But like in the modern game, I prefer not to see it. Unless you're going to see the real thing, if you're going to show me the real thing, then don't show me anything. Show me through your play. Show me through your hard tackles. Show me through your breakdown work. Show me through your carries. I would much rather see that than see handbags at dawn, as it's referred to. So yeah, that's my take on it. I hope we don't see any more this weekend. South Africa against Argentina over there. But let me know what you think. Do you think that kind of pushing and shoving has a part in the game still, or do you think it's kind of a remnant of a bygone era? So yeah, that's my take on that, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. See you later.